the order in which they appear here. You can rearrange that order very easily. When you add them in, they always get dropped onto the end. From there, if we say, for instance, we want to install Media Player higher up, we simply grab Media Player, drag it. If we drop it on top of SOE Cleanup, it will get put on the level above that. You can also do that with groups of applications. So if we want these two to install before Flash, bring them up, drop them on Flash. Now Flash becomes third in that particular list.
Why would you want to change the order, Jeff?
Typically you don't necessarily need to change the order, but if you've got applications which are dependent on other things being installed, for example, a lot of applications are dependent on Java, then it's important that Java is installed early in your build process, typically before your larger applications which are likely to depend on it. So normally what we do is install all of your runtimes, your viewers and stuff like that early on, your major applications later on. The other one is the SOE Cleanup. This actually appears under the SOE framework base. This is important. The SOE Cleanup script performs all of the final operations that are needed to pretty up. It deletes the additional driver files from the disk, it removes some unwanted icons, customises the start menu and that sort of thing. That should always be the last thing to run, and it's usually a good idea to put in a reboot before. So with the cleanup...
Jeff, Sorry, Jeff, can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's Sam here. How you going?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Sorry, I've just got a quick question. Is there like a maximum limit that you can have in there?
Not really. No, not really. If there is a limit, I certainly haven't come across it. You can put pretty much as many applications as you like.
Okay.
So yeah, there's no problem there.
No worries.
Okay, no problems. So with the cleanup script, always try and make it the last thing in the list, and it's usually a good idea to put a reboot in before that. Now, if you want to reboot the machine, simply click here down to Scripting Commands. You've got three options here: Restart, Close RDMC Installer, and Pause. Restart tells the RDMC installer to reboot the machine. It will then automatically log back in and continue with the next application. With some things, this can be important. In the latest application pack, we've included Internet Explorer 8. Internet Explorer 8 also has a prerequisite module that must be installed first. Unfortunately, you have to put a reboot in between the two. So this is one of those cases. So when you install IE8, you put in the IE8 prerequisite, drop a restart command in after it, and then install IE8 afterwards. If you don't, unfortunately, the installation will fail.
So when you get down to the end of your application list that you want to deploy out, what's the two that you recommend? Okay,
generally speaking, if you're installing the IE8 prerequisites as we've got here, then grab a restart command and drop it in between the two. That makes sure that the machine is rebooted after the prerequisites are installed and before Internet Explorer 8 are installed.
Right.
In most cases, you will only need a single reboot to make it work, but if you need more, you can easily put them in. The difference between the restart and the close RDMC installer, if you've got an application pack which, if you've got an application pack with, if you have an application package which needs to reboot the machine itself, this is when you use the close RDMC installer. Generally speaking, we try to avoid this. We prefer it if we use RDMC to control whether the machine reboots or not, but if you've got an unfriendly package that absolutely insists on rebooting the machine itself, drop a close in afterwards. That simply informs RDMC so that it knows the machine is about to restart and doesn't then assume that the previous application has failed to install correctly. The last one is a pause command, which basically tells it to wait. You can use this if you've got an application package where the installer shuts down before it's really finished installing, and so if you want to give it a little extra time to complete, drop a pause command in. When you click on the pause, you can specify down here how long you want it to pause for. That timing is in seconds. When you add that to the script, it simply tells RDMC to wait before it continues on to the next application in the list. Okay, other items?
Mark has a question.
Yep, absolutely.
Can you modify the cleanup?
Absolutely, yes. The cleanup sits in your applications folder in the distribution point. In there you'll find a file called cleanup.exe, which is the primary cleanup script. There is a secondary file called cleanup.cmd. That is a batch file, and you are quite free to add items to that if you like. And so any customizations that you want to put in, you can drop into the cleanup.command file. That includes calling your own scripts and that sort of thing as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, no problems. Okay, so last couple of things to look at. Credential Manager is very simple. It allows you to specify the logon details for your distribution point. Normally you won't need to change these. If you've already got RDMC installed and set up, again it shares the values with RDMC. If you change the settings in here, it changes it for the RDMC console as well. But more importantly is the Application Manager. The application manager you can use to actually customize your application groups, similarly to what you can do within the RDMC console. It allows you also to import new applications, again similar to the way that you do in the console, but in some cases a little bit easier. So for example, if we want to add an additional application to, for instance, the managed applications list, we would simply go to add here, specify the title for the application, browse to where you want it to be. Same as with RDMC, it will automatically take you to the applications folder in your application directory in the RDMC distribution point. It will then automatically select MSI or standalone. So if it's an MSI, it understands that there are additional switches that are needed, and you can, or if it's an XE, then it comes up as the other option. To give you a very quick example, we'll go into, say, repack, test application, link MSI. Because this is an MSI, you can see down the bottom here it's showing you the command it's going to use for the install. So this is fully automated. It adds in the QB switch that's necessary to make it silent. It puts in the appropriate switches to the MSI installer. If you want to change the interface level, so for instance it's completely silent, you can pull this down and say no user interface, and that will change. You can then also specify a transform in the case of an MSI file, and any additional options like properties that you want to specify on the command line. If it's an executable, you can put in parameters which are additional switches that it's intended to use. And again, same as in the console, wait for installer to exit switch. When you save that, the application will be added into your application container, and again, that will appear both within the framework and within RDMC itself. Okay, that's sort of as much of a quick as we can fit into the half hour, but we've got some time now for questions, so if there's anything, please feel free to ask now.
I think one of the most amazing things, Jeff, is I've never heard you say so many words in such a short amount of time. So congratulations, that was quite impressive.
Thanks, Sue. Yeah, unfortunately, I might have underestimated half an hour. Sorry, was there a question?
I said I have Jeff in the last webinar.
Yep, good point. Yeah, absolutely. No, I think for this one, probably 45 minutes might have been a bit safer.
So from here, is it relatively easy, or I know that's a tainted word, but to deploy this using?
Absolutely. Once you've done this, the SOE is basically ready to go. As long as RIS is working, it means that to build a machine, all you do is turn the machine on, hit F12 to tell it to boot off the network. When you do that, it will then pop up with the RIS screen, which will ask you to log in. You just use a normal domain admin account to log into the machine. It will prompt you for the PC name. It will give you a selection list of the different builds you've created, so you select the build that you want, and basically that's it. Everything will be done for you. You don't even need to visit the machine again. At the end of the build, all of the application should be installed, everything should be customized, and the machine will be sitting at a log-on prompt. This means that you don't need actually need a build room, for example. You can quite easily take new machines, drop them on the desks and build them there. They'll be ready to use at the end of the build time.
Jeff, because it's quite a complex area, what I think we might do for today is leave it, but maybe make available to everybody who's on this webinar today, if they have any questions, that they can contact you through the office tomorrow. Would that work? Absolutely.
I mean, that offer is open at all times regardless, but definitely if you've got any specific questions, feel free to either give me a call, drop me an email, whatever's most convenient for you, and I'll be quite happy to go through it with you in more detail. In addition, the documentation for the framework also takes you through step-by-step how to do a lot of these things. You'll find once you start using it, the interface is very, very quick and easy. You can create a new SOE build usually in less than 5 minutes. And customizing an existing build usually doesn't take much more. It's just a matter of jumping into the script, pulling out stuff you don't want, adding in the stuff you do want, hit the right button, and you're ready to go.
Fantastic. So if you're okay with it, if anybody's got any questions tomorrow, you're most welcome to call the office or contact Jeff and just walk through a couple of the processes that you've gone through today. So I'd like to thank the audience for attending today, and Jeff for your amazing information. It was absolutely fantastic. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.